Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our first February broadcast of Cooking with Big Mark.
Good day, folks. Yes, indeed, it is February, Valentine's Day lurking in the corner. You mentioned last time we did this that I was going to talk about the 5 mother sauces, and that's what our subject is going to be today. Anybody who's familiar with French cuisine know that one of the biggest benefits and beauties of the French cuisine are their sauces, the nuances of flavor and the great way they nap meats or fish or a part of a stew or everything. It all comes down basically from what they call the 5 mother sauces, which were sort of devised by Auguste Escoffier way back in the 1800s, and it has sort of come down to this day with a little bit of variation, but pretty much the same thing. You've got the 5 basic ones, which is bechamel, velouté, espagnole, hollandaise, and tomato. And out of those 5, they have derivatives, which gives you all the other ones, and that's what we're going to be going into today. So we'll start with the bechamel, which we went into fairly extensively last time. And again, if you remember, it's just a white sauce. It's equal parts of flour and butter put together and cooked in a pan for 2 to 3 minutes to get rid of the floury, starchy taste. Then you add warm milk or warm cream or milk and cream or half and half to it, and until you get to the right consistency you want. And that's what the bechamel is. So I won't go into that much more, but the derivatives from it, what we're talking about is the Mornay sauce has onions, cheese, Gruyere, and Parmesan. That becomes, added to the cream sauce, becomes a Mornay sauce. And what they call a cream sauce as opposed to a bechamel is when you take the bechamel you've made and then just add heavy cream to it. So it's very rich. And I remember when I was a kid, when I didn't feel well, my stomach was upset. That's one of the things my mother used to make was cream on toast, because it goes down very easy and easy to digest and swallow. Next derivative would be soubise sauce, and that is just a reduction of a ton of onions, put down caramelized or just reduced down, and you make that you incorporate that into the sauce, and also with butter and everything added too. Then you've got sauce Nantua, which is usually a shellfish base, either shrimp stock, shrimp base, or some other with butter and heavy cream. And then what they call cheddar sauce, which is what we talked about last week as the basis for the mac and cheese. That'd be basic cheese sauce. The next one is velouté. Now, velouté is very similar to the bechamel in preparation. The only difference is instead of using milk or cream, that they use some sort of stock. It would be a fish stock, it's chicken stock, and veal stock perhaps, but they don't use beef with it. It's always on the lighter side. But that would be something, again, as you get into a chicken cuisine, or you mix it up the exact same way, made the same way, you add the stock until you get the consistency you want. And then you have the offshoots of that would be what they call supreme, which is just a heavy cream and mushrooms. You've got the Hungarian, which they call it, which has got paprika, white sauce, and that'd be a veal stock that they would use for that. Then the Allemande, which is a chicken with tomato juice, egg yolk, and cream, and that's sort of a German type of sauce that they use. So that's what the velouté is, and as I say, it's very much similar of the other one. The next big sauce is the espagnole, and that's brown sauce. And that is also made with a roux. Now, not many people do that today, but in the basic espagnole, that's what they did with it. And you go through the same procedure, but you're going to, the roux was cooked a little bit more now because they wanted what they call a brown roux. Very similar to what they used on Cajun cooking and down in the New Orleans, Louisiana area. But it's a darker roux because they want to get that rich sort of smoky brown flavor. And then you're adding beef stock. Normally, anything that's made with a pile of bones, and usually be beef or lamb or veal. And that becomes a basic sauce again. And the derivatives from that would be what they call a demi-glaze, which is just to be added more veal, gelatin, and other to reduce it down to a really, really rich sauce. Sauce Robert, which has the same thing, but with a little lemon juice and white wine and some onions and stuff. Then you have a burgundy sauce, they call it, which is with red wine and things. So almost anything you want to do, you just go off. Once you get your basic sauce, you sort of go off onto, in whatever direction that you want to go. The fourth one is hollandaise. And of course, you're all familiar with that. That's the great emulsion of butter and egg yolks. And it's a very touchy sauce in the way you make it. Some people used to have a double butter. A lot of people have it now where they heat the butter and then they put the egg yolk in a blender and then pour the hot butter on. Sometimes that works, but I've never seen it come out. It comes out too thin. The real way is to make it in a good pan and put your egg yolks in and your lemon juice, and then add the butter in chunks very slowly, piece by piece, until it builds up to a nice consistency. And that's when you get a real good, rich hollandaise. Then, of course, the hollandaise is famed for what? Eggs Benedict. That's the main use of that. However, the derivatives of that are, you've got the Maltese, which again is orange, sort of orange flavor. Then you have Chiron, where they add tomato paste or tomato something to it, and those would be the other things. Some people ask, whipped heavy cream, and that becomes another sauce. And I remember when we were eating at Bocuse in France, the famous restaurant in Bocuse. One of his specialties was this loup de mer, he called it, en croûte. It was a piece of fish with a pastry that was shaped like a fish. And the sauce they served with that was Chiron. Marquis was there, but he was much too young to remember that. But that was a great combination. It was one of his classic dishes, sort of a tomato hollandaise with the beautiful white fish and the pastry crust. Then, of course, the final one is the tomato sauce. And in some of the French cooking, they still do make a little bit of a roux for some of the preparations. But for the most part, it's just crushed tomatoes, either hand crushed, and you can be thin, or it could be chunky. It's all the variations come down to how much garlic you add to it, what kind of olive oil, whether you want it chunky or smooth, and your herbs, basil, whatever else that you want to add into it. So those are the 5 basic sauces. Everybody should, doesn't mean you're going to be using a lot of them at this point in time, but it's nice to know what they are, to know what their background is. And since they were created by probably one of the most famous names in French cuisine, which is Escoffier, which we also on that trip went to his house and saw the way his kitchen and everything, which is fun. So anyway, that's the 5 sauces, the 5 mother sauces.
Dad, did you touch on Béarnaise?
No, I didn't. As a matter of fact, that's part of the hollandaise, Mark. Thank you. The Béarnaise, which is probably my favorite sauce. Again, you can imagine why I forget it. That's done generally with a reduction of tarragon, fresh tarragon, or you can use dried tarragon, and a little bit of vinegar, of white wine and vinegar, to give it a little tang to it. And then I tend to put a little pinch of sugar in it too, because the vinegar can make it a little bit, give it a little winey taste. Then again, the same as the hollandaise. Once you get that base, you just add the butter piece by piece by piece into it, using the exact same procedure as the hollandaise. And that's my favorite sauce of that type, especially on filet mignon, other steaks. I also love it on lamb.
All right. So just sort of piggybacking on what Dad is talking about, I wanted to just briefly think about what one might call the mother grapes. And of course, lineage becomes not murky, but some of the parents of the major grapes are quite obscure, even disappeared grapes. So that is not necessarily a question of lineage so much as the ones that have survived and prospered. But I do think Dad and I were originally talking about just focusing on Bordeaux and the 5 main grapes in circulation there: Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Malbec, Petit Verdot, etc. What's the 5th one? I can't remember. Anyway.
Cabernet Franc.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Excuse my French. Yes, Cabernet Franc. But I thought it'd be interesting just sort of as an umbrella concept to kind of understand wine in general. People get very intimidated by the world of wine. It certainly has been used as a cudgel to make people feel less than, but it doesn't have to be, and it shouldn't be. If you have a sort of awareness of what major grapes are and where they're grown, that really gives you a great foothold on the wine world in general. So of course you have your 5 grapes in Bordeaux. If you're looking at Burgundy, predominantly Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. If you're looking at Northwest Italy, if you're looking at Central Italy, those are seminal grapes there as well. And I think especially for American consumers in the 70s and 80s, the fact that European, wines are generally speaking identified by the place they come from, really through people where, if they, even if you're talking about something like a Bourgogne Blanc, that's Chardonnay. It's Chardonnay grown in Burgundy is nothing more or less. So this was kind of the impetus for me to put together a series of videos on my wine website, The Wine Investigators, identifying the major grapes and where they are traditionally grown and are grown today. So a good umbrella concept to look at the world of wine. Thank you, Dad. Enjoyable as always, and we will see you all soon.
Very good. Bye-bye.